Long, long ago, after Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, the earth began to fill with people. Villages grew into towns, towns became cities, and the world was filling with life. But something wasn't right. You see, as the generations passed, people slowly began to forget God. They stopped caring about what was good and true. They cheated, lied, and fought one another. The world became filled with violence, and people cared only about themselves. Now imagine walking down the streets back then. You'd see people shouting, stealing, hurting each other, laughing at cruelty, and completely ignoring God. The world was beautiful on the outside, but inside, it was broken. But among all those people, there was one man who was different. His name was Noah. Noah was a man who loved God. He didn't follow the crowd. When others were violent, Noah chose peace. When others were selfish, Noah was kind. And when others ignored God, Noah walked closely with him. One day, God looked at the world and was heartbroken. The world he had made to be good and full of love was now filled with wickedness. So, God made a plan to start fresh. But he didn't want to erase everything. He wanted to save the good, and Noah was part of that good. So God spoke to Noah, "Noah, I am going to bring a great flood to cleanse the earth. Everything with the breath of life will be swept away. But you, Noah, you have found favor in my eyes. Build an ark, a giant wooden ship. Make it strong, make it large, for it will carry you, your family, and 2 of every kind of animal. Through you, life will begin again." Now imagine Noah hearing that. A flood? Rain so powerful, it would cover the earth. And an ark. Something bigger than any boat he had ever seen. But Noah didn't argue. He trusted God completely. And so, Noah got to work. Day after day, Noah chopped wood, carried beams, hammered nails, and coated the ark with pitch to make it waterproof. This wasn't a small project. It was huge. The ark was longer than a football field, taller than a 4-story building, and wide enough to fit thousands of animals. While Noah worked, people came by and laughed at him. "Hey, Noah," they mocked. "What's with the big boat? Planning a vacation on dry land?" Others jeered. "Where's this flood you keep talking about? We've never even seen rain like that. You're wasting your time." But Noah kept going. He didn't listen to their laughter. He trusted God's voice more than the noise of the crowd. Finally, after many, many years, the ark was finished. It stood there, massive and ready, waiting for God's next move. And then, something amazing happened. From the forests, fields, deserts, and skies, animals began to arrive. Lions and lambs, elephants and eagles, bears and rabbits. Even the tiniest insects, ants, bees, butterflies all came, 2 by 2. Imagine the sight. Kangaroos hopping in, giraffes bending their necks, monkeys chattering, and parrots squawking as they entered the ark. The people who once mocked Noah stood wide-eyed, whispering, "Wait, how are all these animals coming here? What's happening?" Noah and his family guided the animals inside, giving each one a place. The ark was like a floating zoo, carefully arranged so every creature could live in peace. And then God gave the final call. "Go into the ark, you and your family, for the flood will begin." Noah, his wife, his 3 sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, their wives all entered. 8 people in total. Then God shut the door tight, sealed by the hand of God himself. At first, the sky grew gray. Then, a drizzle began to fall. The people outside laughed. "This is it. Just a little rain," they joked. But then the drizzle became a downpour. The raindrops fell harder and harder and harder, until it was like the sky itself was cracking open. Water burst from the ground, rivers overflowed, and waves crashed. The laughter outside turned to screams. The flood had begun. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain never stopped. The ark rose higher and higher, floating safely while the waters covered mountains, valleys, and villages. The entire earth was swallowed by the flood, but inside the ark, Noah and his family were safe. Can you imagine what it was like inside? The sounds of lions roaring, elephants stomping, birds chirping, sheep bleating, all mixed with the thunder outside. It must have felt like the world was ending. Yet Noah trusted God's promise. At last, after weeks turned into months, the rain stopped. The sun peeked through the clouds, and the waters began to slowly go down. The ark drifted and finally came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah waited patiently. He sent out a raven, but it flew back with nothing. Then he sent out a dove. The first time, it returned, empty, beat. The second time, it came back, carrying a fresh olive leaf. That meant the waters had gone down, and trees were growing again. Finally, after over a year on the ark, God said, "Come out of the ark, you and your family, and bring the animals with you." The door opened, and the animals rushed out into the bright, fresh world, roaring, chirping, galloping, leaping ready to fill the earth once again. Noah stepped onto dry ground, looked at the clear blue sky, and built an altar to thank God. He worshipped, grateful that God had saved him and given the world a new beginning. And then God made a promise, a covenant. He said, "Never again will I destroy the earth with a flood. As a sign of my promise, I place my rainbow in the sky." And there it was, very first rainbow. Bright colors arched across the heavens, a sign of hope, mercy, and God's everlasting love. Whenever Noah and his family saw the rainbow, they remembered God's faithfulness.